2014. We won't see each other after today until next year, likely. So welcome to the Toastmasters. My name is Jenny Allen. I'm the Toastmaster for today. As you can see, we do have an open spot for our first speaker, so if anyone wants to jump up at the opportunity, I would welcome you to do so. But I think we have pretty much everyone with roles here as well, too. So thank you all, of course, for your flexibility. I know many of you changed roles in the last couple minutes, or last couple days, so I just appreciate everyone's flexibility. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to welcome up Nathan, our grammarian, and he will tell us the word of the day.
Okay, the word of the day is capricious. It means characterized by or subject to whim, impulsive, and unpredictable. And an example would be, my boss is so capricious, I don't know what he's going to do next. I forgot to write that up there. And as a grammarian, I'll be looking for filler words, colorful language, and if you use the word of the day. Thank you.
I mentioned our flexibility a few minutes ago, and Alan generously agreed to step in as a timer, so I'll welcome him up to give us the timer.
I will be your timer, and essentially done this once, so and I have a new light that I have to become technologically savvy with. Hopefully it isn't capricious. So I'll be timing each speaker, and what I will be doing is when you have 2 minutes left with your speech, I'll hold up the green card and try to remember to flip the green light on. When you have 1 minute left, I will hold up the yellow card, and again, hopefully remember to flip the yellow light on. When your time is up, I will hold up the red card, and the red light will come up. And I guess I don't have information on the time frames for each speaker, so I want to get that before I get back there, so I get able to set the timer and do all that kind of good stuff. So, and that's for the main speakers. For table topic speakers, you get 1 to 2 minutes to respond. And at 1 minute, I'll hold up the green card. 1 minute and 30 seconds, I'll hold up the yellow card. And when your 2 minutes are up, I will hold up the red card. And then evaluators, you have 2 to 3 minutes to do your evaluation. At 2 minutes, I'll hold up the green card. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll hold up the yellow. And at 3 minutes, I will hold up the yellow card. I guess if you go exceedingly long, I guess I don't know if we still have the buzzer or not. I guess I'll just be going like this to let you know that you better cut it. All right? Thank you.
And as Alan is walking back there, I will mention, Alan, that Abby has asked for 6 to 8 minutes.
Okay.
So with our last meeting of 2014, I'd like to welcome our first speaker, our second speaker, now our first speaker, Abby Bradford. Abby has asked, as I mentioned, for 6 to 8 minutes, and she's she's working on project number 4, storytelling from the Advanced Communication Series Manual, and the title of her speech is A Russian Adoption Story. So that will welcome Abby.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Hopefully soon to be member. I'm going to tell you a capricious tale, a tale about Russia. I think Amy was in the audience a long time ago when I told this story, and just a precursor to it, I'm trying to practice it to tell my son, so he can learn about the story that's about him. A Russian Adoption Story, Part 1. We just received a phone call, the phone call that would change our lives. I I was talking to the coordinator, Judy, who's in Chicago, our adoption coordinator for international adoption. She said, I have some wonderful and shocking news. Are you sitting down? I said, no. My husband was sitting at the table. I said, are you sitting down? Yes. She told me the good news that we had a referral for a child. He dropped his coffee cup. I fainted. A half an hour later, she called back to make sure we were okay. I said, "We're okay." She said, we only have a week to get things together. We need to get going. So we quickly made airline reservations for a trip to Moscow. We also had a couple documents that were not ready. We had to work with the state. We actually had to address the senator. And I said, would you please get this information quickly so that we can process it, apostille it, certify it, duplicate it, and get it to our door by tomorrow? He said, I will help you. And he took it upon himself to walk to the office where the paperwork was held up and stood there until, dripping in sweat over the document, it was done. And then he put it in a courier and sent it to us the same day. It was amazing. We still had a few things left to make this trip possible and a success. We had to gather 2 suitcases full of medical supplies, toys, and clothing for the children. We wanted to give a good donation as we visited. And we knew they were in dire need of some of the medical supplies. The last thing left was to just get on the flight. It was a flight from Amsterdam to Moscow, about 9 hours, a layover, and then one more trip to the region where we were going. We were at the airport and looking for our luggage, and our international coordinator was to meet us there. We didn't know what he looked like, so he sent us a picture ahead of time, so we kind of knew what he looked like, and his name was Oleg. Oleg finally greeted us after we were there, grabbed our luggage, and took off. We ran after him. My husband said, this is strange, just keep running. We ran outside. It was pouring rain as we exited with all the baggage. We caught up with him. He signaled for a van to come and pull up. He threw the luggage in there and jumped in. We jumped in too. And instead took off. He squealed out. We accelerated to about 100 miles an hour, I would guess, but I didn't know. I couldn't read kilometers. It had to be 100. There was no Autobahn in Moscow, so we were weaving in and out of very narrow traffic. We did this for about 45 minutes. There were no seatbelts. I was nervous and shaking, almost passing out. It was the most strange ride I've ever had. We eventually went farther and farther and farther out of town. There were no buildings. All you could see were trees. Where are we going? And it continued to rain and the traffic was very heavy. As we got farther out of town, it was a little bit more sparse. And Oleg in the front seat turned around and said, you bring money? And we said, yes. Now granted, when we left for this trip, we were asked to bring money on our person, and it was very uncomfortable. It actually was our life savings. It was translated into $100 bills. Now I had several packets on myself, and my husband did as well. In the world of technology, they chose to deliver the money in person. That was the way it was done. I was a little nervous though because I didn't really know this gentleman. He never introduced us to this driver. He said, we ride. Rode a little bit longer, even farther out in the country. And at this point, Chuck said to me with his eyes, the driver pulled over, screeched to a halt. The 2 gentlemen, Oleg and the driver, who didn't know his name, were arguing to the point where they were, I think, vulgarly swearing at each other. Oleg turned around and said, okay, we go to hotel now. He took the money, counted it again, sealed it up in an envelope, and stashed it. We drove back around to Moscow and to the center of town. Okay, we're going to be safe. We're going to hotel. Chuck and I, meanwhile, are doing this eye thing to each other, like, we're okay, we're going to the hotel, there's civilians around, we'll be fine. We go to the hotel, he asks us, come, follow. We come inside, there are these very sleek, modern couches. Sit, stay. Okay, we sit and stay. He took our passports and our papers and gave them to the desk. And he said, stay, eat here, don't leave hotel. And he left. We had the key to our room, we went up to our room, we sat on the edge of the bed. Chuck said, can you believe what just happened? I said, I know, what the ancient double L has gone on? What have we gotten ourselves into? We're trusting these people, and like, did our US adoption agency work with some seedy underlying underbelly kind of seedy group? What is going on? Are we like, is this valid? Is this okay? I don't know, but I still don't know what this guy is saying to us. Everything was so broken in English. The next day, he arrived promptly at 9 a.m. We didn't sleep a wink. We were really worried that we could even get out of Russia, okay? Ole came and said in his broken English, grabbed his bags, I have papers, we go. He waved, another white van pulled up. It was a much larger white van. He threw the bags literally into the vehicle, jumped in, and it was ready to go. So we quickly jumped in as well. We weren't even sitting down yet, and we realized there are two other females in the van. One is Tatiana, who is the senior coordinator. She was in an all-black leather trench coat and boots. And then we had Gina, who was the translator. She translated for English for us. Although they both spoke kind of broken English, but better than Ole. And they said, we will tell you what will happen on the way. So in transit to the region, to Smolensk, she told us a little bit more about what was going to happen. And finally someone was telling us what's going on. We were to go to the region and meet the girl child, and then we were to meet one more time the following day and go home. We arrived at the orphanage in the middle of this huge, amazing red forest that reminded me a lot of the region in Minnesota up north, where all the trees are very close together, and all pine trees and the same wildflowers. So it wasn't too different. We went winding through the road for about an hour until we landed in the middle of the forest. And she explained to us that incarcerated folks, they're in prison, or prisoners of war, they would take their children and they would also put them in orphanages. And the locations are not disclosed. And children that have no families are also in these orphanages, so it's a mixture. And so they prefer that folks do not know where it is. And so that is why they went through all these motions and these actions to keep us out of watching eyes, if you will. We met the child. We gave her intentions that we wanted to adopt this child. And then we were to go home and wait 3 to 4 weeks for the follow-up date for court. And so we were whisked back home at 120-mile pace, back to the airport and then home. And it was on the way, it was in motion. Our adoption process had started.
Thank you, Annie. What a wonderful speech. Next up, I would like to invite Amy Roberts. Amy is our... Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Alan, I'm 1 minute on the timer for
Sure.
evaluations.
Yep.
Thank you. So next up, I'd like to invite Amy Roberts to talk, to lead us in our sometimes capricious table topics. Amy.
fun time for table topics. This is very often, so I'm excited about this. I am just going to call for volunteers. I believe that just about everybody here has a role, and those of you who don't, I'm sure will be some of our first volunteers. So with that, I would rather hold the question, have a volunteer, and have you come on up, and I'll give it to you on the spot. So first volunteer for table topics, please.
I will, because I was the naughty one who didn't come on time.
All right, take your punishment. They will not be difficult, I promise. Can you tell us about a time that you felt joy, a joyful moment in your life?
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and our distinguished guests. I'd like to share with you a joyful moment in my life. That was probably about 20 years ago, plus. I'm not going to say. I was just about 19 years old. I was single. And I was expecting a baby. The father didn't want to deal with parenthood, and I decided I can do it on my own. With that, I talked to my father, and he was a little upset. I talked to my grandmother, and she was the most forgiving, supportive, wonderful person I have ever talked to. In a situation like this, that moment gave me so much support and joy to feel that I could have that baby on my own, and that baby would be accepted by my family. If I wouldn't have had the support of my grandmother at that time, it would have been a very long and very sad journey in my life. Having those 55-minute conversation with my grandma was probably the best thing ever happened in my life. And that provided me with not just a few minutes of joy in talking to her and feeling that I was being loved and being supported, but it also opened a whole life of joy of having a wonderful son, who, by the way, gave me 4 grandkids.
I hope that you will return that favor someday for your grandchildren when they're asked to spread or share a joyful moment.
But they cannot have children.
That'll be a different topic of conversation. Yes. Another volunteer, please. Mona? Thinking about my grandmother, she collects pine cones of all things. She has a hobby in which she then structures these pine cones and other dried flowers into ornamental wreaths, and they're just beautiful. Can you tell me about a collection or a hobby that you might have?
Thank you, Madam Topic Master. A collection that I might have. I like a lot of history, and my daughter just finished her bachelor's with a history degree about a month ago, and have a variety of collections. One thing that is particularly interested in me is my great-great-grandfather was a provost guard at Fort Delaware, which is just down the river from Philadelphia during the Civil War. Fort Delaware was the Andersonville of the North. We were there one July. It was cold, murky, wet, and rainy. It reminded me very much of Alcatraz. It was damp, it was cold, it was nasty. It was an island in the middle of the river. Their drinking system was in the middle of the fort, and they had a moat around the outside of it. And that moat was used as their sanitary system. And when the tide came in, they opened the gates and went out, and then they came back in. This island was originally designed for 3,000 people, and there were 10,000 Confederates there. It's where all the Confederates that were captured in Gettysburg went after the battle. As a result, not as a result, I've ended up with many different things. My great-great-grandfather, he was a sergeant for 2 months in March of 1863, but he did something and got demoted back to private. But I have a chalk drawing about 18 by 24 of him in his dress uniform. I also have his discharge papers, his pension papers. He was a original contributor to the Lincoln Monument in Philadelphia, and 100 other things. So I very much like history, and that's just one part of my collection of historical stuff. Thank you.
I just think it's so interesting what tidbits of information we hear and learn about each other in Toastmasters. That's one of the things that just energizes me so much about coming to these meetings. Do I have another volunteer? One? Well, I know that I've heard a couple of different capricious stories from Abby. The adoption, if you guys remember when we went traveling up and they were caught in the ice and snow and all kinds of craziness going on. Do you have a similar story, something capricious, an adventure?
My adventure is still ongoing and very closely related to Abby's. It was stories of your nature that we had heard while my wife and I had been exploring adoption ourselves. We thought, well, we could do anything, but what's this Russian adoption? And we had heard stories like that. And we like watching those scenarios on big budget movies rather than living them ourselves. And decided that international probably wasn't for us. And we had gone through the classes and we just couldn't decide on what to do. And decided, okay, we took all the classes, we put information out there. What are we gonna do? At one point, we had no idea. We threw it up in God's hands, and one day, shortly after just saying, you know what, we'll follow whatever path is revealed to us, and about 3 days later, my brother-in-law had given my wife a phone number. Call us. It was a 19-year-old girl who had just found out she was pregnant, and the dad did not want anything to do with her, and would like to meet us. We met. We kept in touch. For about 7 months we chatted. Finally, we got a call one Saturday morning saying, she's just admitted to the hospital. We better get over to Fairmont. Our daughter is now 8 years old. Our adventure includes an open adoption, so we have an expanded family that we didn't originally anticipate when we first got married. But it is the best adventure that has ever happened to us, and we are just waiting for the rest.
Oh my God, I got goosebumps. This is the best table topics I've ever done. Wow. Whew, all right, who's got one? Another volunteer? I'll make it easy on you, I promise.
Well, but that's my hard problem.
Well, I know, yeah, you don't have to move out. I'll make it a very simple question that hopefully won't lead you down a path of that depth. A volunteer?
I'll do another one if nobody wants to.
Come on up.
Just because I need to practice.
There you go, I know, we have the time. You have the time and the audience. There you go.
Active.
Yes. Winter foods. So it's the season of celebration, a lot of things going on, not to mention a whole season of change. Things are very cold and they like My food is now warm and cozy. Tell me about a favorite winter food that you love.
Fellow Toastmasters and most distinguished guests again.
Holiday season, and again, this sort of winter time, even if it's just a season change, sometimes those things inspire traditions or celebrations. If you would mind sharing a tradition or a celebration that you hold dear?
Our family has many different traditions related to the Christmas season. My grandmother's parents were were Swedish immigrants to Minnesota. She would have to have the lutefisk every Christmas day. My mother is the only one in our family that likes lutefisk. So fortunately, my dad takes her to lutefisk dinner every year before Christmas, so we don't have lutefisk. But Grandma also used to make a dessert. It's like a cheesecake called Pusterkakan. Grandma got up in years and was no longer able to make it. She gave me the recipe. The recipe started with a pail of milk. Okay, Grandma, a pail. Okay, 1 gallon, 2 gallons, 5 gallons. Finally gets to 2 gallons. It originally was told it had to be unpasteurized milk. That's getting more and more difficult to get. You can just use whole milk. It is incredibly good. My father-in-law, who ran an Italian restaurant for 50 years, loves it. If I make it, I have to send it to him. But my own tradition I started, there's no calories. It's just made up of whole milk, cream, sugar, and eggs. And served warm with light crust, and is divine. And I'm living proof.
I can't wait for our next potluck. Actually, I have a question for you. Do you mind? I have a question actually about your speech. So you gave us part 1, and I think I know part of part 2, so I won't go there. But my question is why you needed the senators. Okay, if you wouldn't mind.
I needed the senator's help for various reasons. When you go through an adoption process in the state of Minnesota, you have to have things go through the state, and they're certified and apostille. So certified is when you have someone that's certified to sign, and that they're seeing you sign it, and that you are who you are. Apostille is that they look at your background, they look at not only who you are, but also that it's a certified state document or international or a national document. So you have to go through yet another, it's literally an emboss and a seal, and it has to be on a special paper that's approved by the state. And it takes a lot of time and money to process it. But they put that in place so that folks are not in such a hurry to get the documents and paperwork and they know it's authentic. So it's a way to slow down the process and make it authentic and safe and secure. But it's a pain when you're trying to go through literally years of paperwork. Each document that you need apostille, it literally costs $30, and it takes at least a month or 2 to get that done. It was in a paperwork scenario where you can only fax or email and wait for a month to get a response with status of where it might be. And we were just freaking out because literally the next day we needed to leave, and we had no idea how long. It could be months. And so we could go to Russia and still have our paperwork, and all that money is for nothing. So my husband was supporting one of the senator's campaigns for many years. We made a favor call to him because he stood out in line and campaigned and put signs out and knocked on doors for him for years and said, could you please check on this for me? And he graciously did, so we were able to get it taken care of quickly. But it doesn't always happen to everyone, so our government is slow in process, but it does pay off to know someone.
Keep going. Oh, volunteers. All right. All right. Well, I've got one that kind of goes along the theme. This will be the last meeting that we have here in 2014. So can you tell me about a fond memory from 2014 perhaps how that might inspire something in you.
Sure.
All right. Excellent.
Fun memory. I have to admit, I am having trouble. There's just so many memories to pick from. And so I'm thinking, do I do something work related, home related, or otherwise? Fun memory in 2014. Kind of go with one of our standbys, and this is a traditional trip. I think I shared with you one of my speeches, our annual cabin trip. We go up to the cabin. There's beautiful sunsets in our cabin near Grand Rapids. It's actually my husband's family's cabin. And so each year we go up there, which is a tradition. One fun memory though that I have from 2014 is something that I've started with the kids. My 2 children go, and then we have a family that goes with us, and we have 3 children. And kind of started impromptu, but really made it a formal event this year, is we have a treasure hunt. And so the first full day that we're there, I go out into, actually have 2 docks where we are at. And so I go out to both the docks, I go to a couple of the sheds, and I hide things. I had clues at each one of them. And at the very end is a treasure, or where they find the treasure. So there's things that will keep them busy, crafts throughout the week, fishing lures for the children who love fishing so much, and so on. And so now they've already asked when the treasure hunt will be next year. And so we'll continue to do that as an annual.
One more.
One last one.
One last one.
I'll do it.
All right. All right. I have, well, 3 last questions, and then a gift you gave or one you received, something that was meaningful either in the fact that you gave it and were excited about giving it, or perhaps something that someone gave to you that was special.
Trying to do it.
Either way.
Well, in my job, I work for only 5 clients exclusively, but I always budget time to do like my own project, and then I do a direct mail package for charity. And actually, I just bought Habitat for Humanity just asked me to do a package for them to raise money for them. And that's kind of why I'm dressed like this, is I just got back from the cities helping to build a house up there. And so I had to rush back here, that's why I was a little late, but not as late as Elizabeth. But, so I guess that was nice because I got to help build the house, and then I'll get to write the package to raise money for them, and that's it.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for sharing your stories today. Again, just little tidbits of information, just intriguing and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you to Amy for keeping the table topics going, and to all of you, some of you volunteering to do it twice. That was wonderful to keep that going for about 25 minutes. Very good. Next up, I'd like to invite Chris Nibby. Chris will be doing the general evaluation portion.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, my role as general evaluator is to help us all grow with this capricious time of year. It is very important to add a little stability and some understanding and predictability in what happens at a Toastmasters meeting. With that being a nice schedule, however many times it changes, as well as understanding of the roles. We are a very good team. The process of Toastmasters ensures that everybody is cross-trained so that every meeting, no matter how capricious they may be, will always run smoothly regardless of what the schedules are. As well as that it's to help us grow as well. With my first evaluator that I will soon call up to evaluate Abby's speech for our guests that we have. this is just as important as the speeches. We may not always allocate the same amount of time for evaluations as speeches, but we place just as much weight because through these evaluations, we can understand what came through well and what might need a little bit of work. And being male, who is always up for improvement, no matter where it may be, please welcome Melissa for the evaluation of Abby's speech.
Thank you, General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and most especially Abby. Your capricious tale. I was blown away by your story. And when you prefaced it, or when you first were up here and you said, you know, I'm practicing to tell my son, which is, of course, the most important audience for your story. I can envision this, especially once we hear part two, with the way they try to compact and bring them both together. I can completely see this as an international speech competition piece, and that's coming up in April. And so as I was listening as a, she should really be in the speech, she should really be in this competition. So with that, the evaluation asks, what emotions did you experience? I could hear laughter around the room. So you were able to keep a very serious topic a bit light, and you had those great moments of humor. There was also tension and some suspense. I had absolutely no idea that the adoption process, the international adoption process, could be so precarious. So also I feel this is a story that needs to be shared beyond these walls, and we are very privileged as Toastmasters because we get to hear these sorts of stories. Back and forth, your facial expressions were outstanding. Now, on the facial expressions, so don't forget this, there was a habit of walking this way and this way. And while movement in a speech can be helpful, and also, I mean, there's all that energy and tension, and it can enhance that energy, it'd be better if you could cheat, steal from the theater, and always make sure we can see more of your face. Because that profile, like, what is she, especially when you have such fascinating expressions, it's, turn that face around here, I want to see what's going on, was my feeling there. Let's see. Did the story contain basic elements of setting, characters, plot, conflict? I don't think anyone could deny that it contained all of those elements and in abundance. Your characters were well developed. Your description of Olaf was, I could see it, no problem. And your description of the lady in the black leather trench coat and the boots, at first was like, what does lady like? You know, there was still that, it contributed to that feeling of suspense, and then that relief of, okay, finally they're explaining to you what's going on, and the whys and wherefores. The story was told chronologically, I feel. It was well done. One other potential for enhancement that I could see is when you were giving that list. I don't know if you were maybe out of breath. I know I'm out of breath as a however, a little more intensity on it could really bring that out. And I received the red light, but then the other quick things is, when the senator was dripping over the paper, when you got to the end of it, I wasn't 100% sure if it was your senator or your husband. I thought so, but I wasn't 100%. And then on the money exchange, it wasn't clear that it wasn't still on your person until a little bit after the fact. So those would be 2 points. But it's such a great story, and you tell it really well. So I really want to compete against you in April. Mr. General Evaluator.
Next up is our grammarian for his grammarian's report. Please welcome Nate back up.
Okay, for the grammarian's report, Jenny used the word of the day. Elizabeth, I like the part where you're talking about eating a big tub of banana pudding. And then Abby, you used the word of the day. And it's crazy all that paperwork you got. I won't even do it. And then Amy used the word of the day. And then Chris, He's the overachiever using the word of the day twice. And then I like the part about you'd rather watch the experience of international adoption on big budget movies. And then Alan, you use the word of the day. Melissa, you use the word of the day. And then I like the quote about push to your edge, the ground will always be there. And that's the grammarian's report.
Next up, we have plenty of time for our timer report. Please welcome Alan to the front. Can you get it done in this 10 minutes that we have with all the people we have?
I think so.
Oh, good.
Thank you, General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. The timer's report, and I actually had to check. I wasn't exactly sure. So I had to check with him quick. But as far as speakers, Abby, you asked for 6 to 8 minutes. You were actually at 8:40. So a little bit over, but still a great speech. So, table topics. Elizabeth, the first time, 155. So perfect. John, 212. Let's see. And the time frame for table topics is 1 to 2 minutes. Chris, 202. And actually, I kind of messed up a little bit there. So Elizabeth, the second time, 1:30. So you made it both times within the time frame. Melissa, 1:36. John, the second time, 1:39. Very good. Let's see. Abby, 1:54. Jenny, 1:37. And Nathan, 42 seconds. Might want to drag that out, or try and go a little bit longer, but and let's see here. Evaluator number 1, Melissa, 3:36, and obviously acknowledge that you saw the red light, but still, great job. Great job, everybody. And that's the timer's report.
Now I get to evaluation. This is a fun and it is I'm not going to use the word of the day, but it is an unpredictable time of year. But it is such a pleasure to be part of a group that embraces that and takes that challenge, whatever it may bring, head on to make the most of it. I have learned a lot about most of you who are brave enough to tackle Amy's table topics than I have in quite a few speeches. I think this impromptu speaking catches people off guard, and when people are off guard, gain a lot more than I think that they'd let you know. They'd want you to know. And I think that is a wonderful gift to share in such a supporting group. And I think that is a wonderful way to end our wonderful 2014 year. I wish everybody to have happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Enjoy your time with your family and your friends. And I look forward to 2015.
Thank you, Chris. I couldn't have said it better. Just to echo some of your comments, a great way to end 2014 and leave us wanting more in 2015 with part 2, great table topics, all of you being willing to fulfill roles, having our guests here who will soon become members, hopefully. It's just been a